welcome to the stage your MC for today, Kari Michelson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight. I'm so excited that you guys are all here, and I'm really happy to be doing this show. This is an intense show because we're going to talk about some pretty intense issues. But I think with everything going on in the world right now, you may want to stay tuned because we're going to address a lot of issues that are big challenges for a lot of people right now. And so I hope it really helps. So to start out with, tonight is called Lessons That I've Learned from Great Leaders and Achievers. These are people that I know, that I've worked with, that I've had relationships with personally and professionally. And these lessons have really changed my life in every single way. But I wanted to start out with this first chapter of the show talking about what I call the voice. And it's that voice in our heads that either helps us and inspires us and motivates us, or it's the one that takes you the other direction, the one that takes you into the dark, the self-defeating negative voice that all of us have it. If anybody says they don't have it, they're not being honest, because on some level, all of us have this voice in our head. Now, it may have started with, unfortunately, if you had a challenging relationship with a parent, a step parent, a teacher, any person in your young life, a coach, that said something to you that kind of really sat with you in a bad way, something critical, something negative. A lot of times we take those things in, and even long after the person is gone out of our lives, they may have passed away, they may have moved away, we still have that voice inside our heads, beating us up, telling us things about us that really aren't true. So I wanted to talk about that because I had an experience in my life with two different specific people that because of what I went through with them, it completely changed my life and saved my life in many, many ways. And the very first person that I want to talk about is this beautiful man, Andrew Andy Gibb, who a lot of you know. Of course, he's the youngest brother of the Bee Gees. And Andy, at a very young age, became a pop superstar, won so many awards, was beloved all over the world. And as many of you know, Andy passed away very early in life due to complications from a heart problem that unfortunately most people feel was caused by a lot of the substance abuse that he struggled with as a young person. So people would think, well, why would Andy Gibb have these issues? Why would he have any negative voices in his head? He was handsome, he was talented, he was successful. He had like everything you would think anybody would want. But that voice was there. And I know this because I did date him for quite a while. And I met him because he guest starred on the television series I did as a young child called Give Me a Break. And the week before the show, Nell Carter, who starred in our show, said to me, "Oh, Kari, you guys are going to date. You're going to get together," because we were close in age. He was a bit older than me, but, you know, in the same decade. And I'm like, nah, please. You know, I really didn't think much of it. And so the first date, when you do a half-hour show like I did, he came on the set. You read the script around the table the first day. For us, we would read on Monday, then we would block it in a rehearsal hall, and then you go down and you rehearse it on the sound stage, and then you shoot it on Friday in front of 2 live audiences. And from the minute he walked on the set, there was like a spark and there was a magnetism. And we all went to lunch that first day, the whole cast. We would normally do this. And so we sat together, and it was like instant chemistry. I mean, I literally fell in love with him. It's love at first sight. I didn't feel that way watching him as a performer, but when I met him, he was the most kind, sweet, um, respectful, just precious person that I feel like I'd almost ever met. So we did date for quite a while, but I was dating him at the time that he was really, really struggling with his addictions. Um, I, at the time, was struggling with a food addiction. But his situation was a little bit more difficult than mine. I walked through the whole Betty Ford thing with him. I got a call from his mom one day on the set saying that he was in the hospital and he was asking for me, would I come? So of course I came, and he had decided to check himself into something called the Betty Ford Center to try to help him. He went through the whole program, had such inspiration. We were sitting out I would drive down there every single Sunday with his mom and dad and his sister, half sister. And he would sit out on the lawn and you could see the light coming back in him. I mean, it never really left him, but I could obviously tell that he was struggling with different things. And when he was in a dark place, he would not call me. But after Betty Ford, he just had, right towards the end, he had such this great lease on life, and he was playing the guitar again. And we moved him into a different house so that he wouldn't have that same negative environment. And so basically what happened is, tragically, 2 weeks, we were so excited. And I was so excited because he seemed like he was getting so much better. About 2 weeks out of the center, he lost his sobriety, and it just went from bad to worse. And so tragically, not too long after that, Andy passed away. So the reason I tell you guys this story, and it makes me emotional, because I watched this amazing, amazing man, full of life, full of talent, who I adored, just self-destruct. And in my own way, I was going through similar situations because I was using food to make myself feel calmer and better when I was surrounded by a tremendously toxic and negative environment at work, which I wasn't used to because there was a lot of drugs and alcohol and verbal abuse going on, unfortunately, behind the scenes on my set. Give me a break. And when he passed away, it just hit me so hard. And I know he saved my life. And the reason he saved my life is because I could see that I could go down that road. And I didn't want to go down that road. And it was so tragic being at his funeral with all the most amazing people in the industry who loved him, watching his mother and his father have to lay their sweet young son to rest, right? When they tried so hard to be there for him and help him to recover from this addiction. And guess what, you guys? It wasn't Andy. It was the voices in his head. So those voices in his head that told him, I can't do this. It's too much. Barry, his brother, helped him a lot with a lot of his number one singles. And I think there was some fear that, maybe a lot of his success had to do with his brother. And he just didn't see how amazing he was. He couldn't tap into and connect with that. So he changed my life because I saw what the voice did. I had the same voice in my own head, you guys. You're not thin enough. You're not this enough. You're not that enough. It was always you're not thin enough because that's the entertainment business that I was in. And it led me into counseling. And I think because it was so devastating for me to lose him, not just as a relationship, but as my friend and someone who I loved and who was so sweet and pure. I just thought, I don't want to go down that road. So the reason I say that to you guys is right now, a lot of people have these voices in their head. And the other person is obviously Nell Carter, because she had the same voices in her head. And it also led to her passing away very early. If you guys have these voices in your head and they are doing this to you, right? They talk, they're so mean and they're so abusive. I just want to tell you, that is not of God, right? That is not of your higher self. It is that negative, dark self that is in the world, You guys, the world can be a very dark place. Not everybody is pure. Not everybody is kind. There's a lot of people that will take advantage of other people, but you've got to fight the voice. I'm just telling you right now, you can fight it. It took me a while. I had to start writing down what the voice was saying, flipping it over, and then saying the opposite thing. In the beginning, I didn't believe it, but don't let that voice take you out, because that negative, destructive voice in your head can literally kill you, not just emotionally, but literally kill you. And that's like what happened to Robin Williams, the voice in his head. He didn't see in himself how amazing he was, right? All of the things, all these amazing people who have passed away young, who are so talented. Whitney Houston, somebody else I worked with. You've got to fight that voice. Do not let that voice, or don't let someone in your life or someone in your family who has that voice and maybe is mean to you, take you out. You deserve better. You're loved. You're fantastic. You're perfectly imperfect just the way you are. And I just want to encourage you guys right now, because mental health is a real challenge right now. If you're having problems, reach out. Reach out. You guys, I had to reach out in a crisis last week. I am back in some counseling for a crisis that I am dealing with right now. You guys, don't try to do this alone. If you're being hurt, or your voice is hurting you, or you're being hurt by someone else, or something is unfair that's happening to you, if you've been, having issues with a relationship, with a job, whatever the case is, with a family member, don't try to do it alone. There's so many hotlines available. So I just want to tell you, don't walk through this alone. I'm going to continue to try to support you through it as much as I can. But I know that Andy and Nell, really both, but predominantly my experience and my relationship with Andy saved my life. And so even though he's gone, I thank him for that, because although we lost him, the lessons that I learned from that experience with him helped me to be so committed to heal myself from my eating disorder. And it started me on the most beautiful journey, where I don't let that voice run my life anymore. I fight against it. I get help. I call out to a friend, to a counselor, whoever it is. I know how to do writing. So my life today is so beautiful. I love myself. I care about myself. I know that I do the best I can. I'm a good person. I don't hurt people. I don't take advantage of people. I try to be the best person that I can. And so I encourage you guys. I know you're all that way. You guys who follow me, you're so precious. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to share about that story. Okay. So, I'm with you, and we really are in this together. So let's support each other through it, and don't do it alone. Okay. We're here for you. So the next lesson that I learned is from an amazing woman. Okay. So there's Sweet Nell right there. You can see that. And here I am. Here Lori is. This is in the 3rd season. I'll post this sometime, but I put this here because you can see actually on my face and Lori's face that we're not actually that happy, because things were very tense at work at that time. So you can see images of me in the beginning of the series where I'm glowing. And then as the seasons progress, I get darker and darker. You can literally see it in my eyes. That's kind of why I had this picture here. But let me move on to the next subject. Okay, so this is the next chapter of my life, where I worked with some unbelievable people. This is me on tour with something called the Get Motivated Business Seminar. That's me right there on the Jumbotron, and I'm right here on this stage in the middle. I can't remember this. I think this is the picture from the Staples Center. So there's like 20,000 people there. I had the amazing opportunity to host this event for many years and be on the road every single month, every other week, with some of the greatest leaders and achievers in our country. General Colin Powell, former First Lady Laura Bush, George W. spoke a number of times. It was Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana, Steve Forbes, and all of the top NFL Hall of Fame athletes, and many, many Olympians came. But every city we went to, we would basically do this seminar. It was a one day, and all of these people would speak to business owners and just people in general about how to not only stay motivated, but how to never give up, how to keep themselves in a positive place when the worst of everything was happening. The stories that were told by the leaders that spoke that I just mentioned were very helpful to people, because a lot of people would look at this amazing woman, former First Lady Laura Bush, and they would think, well, what would she have to be stressed out about? She used to tell this story at the seminar about, her husband had a lot of criticism when he was in office, a lot. Some of you may remember it, George W. And people said, how did you survive that? And, can you imagine if you are a wife and you love your husband and publicly your husband is being criticized and dragged through the mud, and, things are being said about him. You guys know what goes on in the media, and whatever affiliation you are, we both know that whether you're on the right or the left, there's people always being criticized. I mean, from both sides. Our president's being criticized, our former president's being criticized. It just never stops, right? It goes on and on and on. And she just said, I realized, and she told 20,000 people this, that the only thing you can do is to know your truth. She said, I know George. George knows me. And she said, that's all that really mattered, is that I know who we are as a couple. I know who he is to me. And that's really all you can do. So the reason I tell you guys this is that if you're dealing with that and you have people that are, again, people are going to criticize you. If you're good at what you do and you are powerful and talented, just prepare. Just prepare, you guys, because there's nothing more threatening to people than a powerful, secure, talented person. The people that are envious of you and jealous of you are going to come out of the woodwork. So, the reason why they say it's lonely at the top is because once you go to that level, all the people that are not happy with where they are, whether it's emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, they're going to attack, because they don't want to. Like when people go like this, how they say you should turn, if somebody's pointing their finger at you, though you've got three fingers pointing back, that's because people who point fingers usually are lashing out, and they should be looking at themselves. They're not looking at themselves for how they can improve, how they can be better. So you stay secure in yourself. You know who you are. You know what's true. You be good. You be honest. You do the right thing. You be authentic. You be forgiving. And if you hurt someone or you make a mistake, you apologize for it. You take responsibility. You just behave maturely. And, call a friend, a family member you've had a breakdown with. Have a family meeting. Talk through it with them. Try. If they don't respond, you've done your part. You've made the effort, right, to do that. So I just want to encourage you guys. And remember, a lot of times your light, your power, and your talent really brings up other people's insecurities. It's not your problem. Just stay doing what you do. It's their problem. You stay walking in the light. You stay true to your power. And if those people can't handle it and can't handle you and how fantastic you are, you just have to keep walking down your journey. Might it lead you another direction? Might one door close and another open? Yeah, absolutely. It's okay. You're going to be led to a better place. You have to trust that. You have to know that, because being in a negative environment, a toxic environment where you're not being appreciated, valued, and all of that is not good, not only for your mental and emotional health, but your physical health. So just trust, know yourself, stay committed to who you are, be honest, true, forgiving, loving, try to work through issues, honestly, when you're calm, not when you're in an angry, heated place. And know that you're destined for great things and you're being led there. Just know you're not alone in this. It's not just you're not alone. Like there's a higher force working in your behalf to help get you to that place. Okay, so that's the amazing Mrs. Bush. That's at the Get Motivated seminar. We had so much fun, and it was such a great honor to, for years, travel with this amazing woman. Behind the scenes, you guys, she is so loving, um, and I don't mean in a, let's say she's respectful, she's classy, she's elegant, she is kind. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. She's just a wonderful, amazing woman. And I feel incredibly honored that I had a chance to know her and that she's always been so incredibly kind and supportive to me. So thank you, Mrs. Bush. And I wish you the best. Just really adore her. Okay, so next person that I have learned so many lessons from is this amazing man, General Colin Powell. General Powell also I met when I was hosting that same Get Motivated seminar. So when I was hosting the seminar for Get Motivated, again, we were traveling all over the country. And I had this intro that I used to love to do for him. 4-star general, a national security advisor to President Ronald Reagan, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I mean, it goes, his resume goes on and on. And his speech that he would give to the entire arena of 20,000 people, and in every single sports arena we went to every other week, was so powerful. He talked about leadership, true leadership, what it really means to be a leader. Being a leader doesn't mean you use your power against other people. Being a leader means you do everything you can to build up your followers, to build up your team. Why did he know this? Because obviously he was a general in the military. It's all about encouraging people, building them up, taking responsibility for their failings, right? If the team fails, you don't blame it on the team. You take responsibility as the leader and you do everything you can to resolve it. He has a book that I would encourage all of you to get. I actually have the book because I was honored that he actually sent one to me and sent one to my son and signed it for my young son, because they actually know each other. And he's kind of been like a mentor and like a surrogate grandfather to my son, because my sweet dad passed away many years ago. I couldn't have been more blessed that my young son at 5 and 6 years old would be influenced by this man. And so the story I want to tell you, and this shows who he really is that I was at the show, I was introducing him, getting ready to bring him on stage, do this great intro that I love to do because I have so much respect for him. And my son was visiting the event. I got him, we went to, Nordstrom's, and we got him the suit and the red tie and the little white shirt and the dress shoes. I mean, we're 5 years old, adorable. I don't have a picture of it, but I should have brought it. And so he was sitting, I had him come out and sit. There was the platform in the middle, like of the Staples Center, if you can visualize, or any huge sports arena that you're aware of, like the big basketball arenas. And they would basically have chairs all the way around. The platform was in the middle, so we were speaking to all 4 sides. And then there were VIP chairs at the bottom of the stairs that they would walk up to the platform. So I put my son in the chair and I said, sit right here, do not move, do not talk, do not say a word. And I did my intro of General Powell. And General Powell trots up the stage and everybody hugged each other. It was a big hug fest, right? So I would do the intro, he would come up and he would always give me a hug. So he walks out. So instead of coming up on the platform, he walks over to my son, who's sitting in the front row below the stage, whispers something in my 5-year-old, 6-year-old son's ear. I think he was 5 or 6 at the time. And then comes up on stage, winks at me, and then gives me a hug and proceeds to do his talk. So I went down the stairs and I said, come on, Nikki, let's go. I was going to take him to my dressing room. And Nick's like, no, Mom, I want to watch this man. And I said, Nikki, seriously, he's going to be up there for a while. And once he starts, we can't leave because you can't get up and walk out in the middle of General Powell's talk, right? And so he's like, no, Mommy, I want to stay here and watch him. So I said, Nick, it's going to be longer than a Hannah Montana. Because as you know, Hannah Montana is like 30 minutes, right? So he was so adamant about watching General Powell's talk. So I said, okay. So we sat there for 30 minutes and watched General Powell's talk. And my son didn't move. He was riveted. And so afterwards, he came off the stage. I had to go back up and introduce someone else. I mean, I think after him, it might have been Mrs. Bush, or could have been Steve Forbes, who was on the tour with us all the time, or could have been Joe Montana. I don't remember. So then I went back to my dressing room. I took my son by the hand, and we walked back through the tunnel and went into my room. And the producer backstage, I'm like, what was that? And General Powell by that time was, I think, already gone, because they would, whisk him away in a town car, and he was not backstage at the time. I did see him the following show, and we laughed about it backstage. But the producer said, oh, yeah, he came up to us and said, is that Kari's son? Found out his name so he could go up, and he went over and whispered. All he said was he leaned down to my son's ear and said, hey, Nicholas. And so Nikki was so amazed that this man knew his name, and they were friends ever since. And it's been, I got to tell you something, that one experience changed my son's life, because now when he hears General Powell, when he's listened to his audiobook, he's been influenced by one of the most amazing leaders that we've ever had in this country. And how amazing that my little 5-year-old son would be influenced by him and all these incredible leaders. It was one of the greatest honors of my life. But the lesson that I learned from him is there can be a moment. It can be just a brief moment of him leaning into my son's ears and saying, hey, Nick, how are you? That can change someone's life. So for you as a leader, for me as a leader, realize that what we do makes a difference. What we say to people, do we encourage them? Do we criticize them? And know that everything we do can make a difference in how that person perceives themselves, how they feel about themselves. And as leaders, right now we have to lead. We really have to lead. I mean, the country, we can't depend on Washington to lead. You guys, it's such a disaster. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the right or the left. You know what I mean? Democrat, Republican, Independent. Right now, we have to, as people in this country, say and vote in November to make a decision to help lead us out of this crisis we're in. If you are a business owner, lead with integrity, with honesty, with authenticity. You don't want to be a user or an abuser of your employees. You want to build them up. You want to say thank you. You want to, inspire them, appreciate them. And if you're an employee, you guys can do that to the other people you work with. Maybe the person who's the meanest to you, who gives you the hardest time, think of one thing that you think they're good at or that they're talented at, and tell them. It might deflect the whole energy of the problem you have with that person, because they're just jealous of you. They're just threatened by you. So there's ways that you can be a leader, even if you don't own the company. There's so many ways, you guys, we can lead. We can lead as parents. We can lead as a child. We can lead as a daughter. We can lead as an owner of a company. We can just lead as an American. That's what America is all about. The fact that we can lead. We have a voice. We have a choice. And those are the lessons that I've learned from this amazing man, who has also just continued to kind of look out for me, keep an eye on how my son is doing. My son is in a private school, and he spoke at our school's fundraiser last year at the Ronald Reagan, actually 2 years ago now, at the Ronald Reagan library. And we saw each other again. And what an amazing man he is. He never treats people like, who are you? He's just friendly and appreciative and humble and honest, and such a high level of integrity. Boy, isn't that what we need, in this country? Isn't that what we need leading the country? Well, I believe it's in our hands. We have to step up, and also be those leaders in our own lives. And thank you, General Powell, from the bottom of my heart, for everything you've taught me, how you've been there for me, how you've inspired me, what I've learned from you, and how unbelievably you have, in so many ways you don't even know, changed my son's life. For the better, because he knows what a true leader looks like and what it's really all about. And he aspires to become that way. He said, Mom, if General Powell was president, we could go visit the White House. And I said, I know, but he didn't want the gig. So, and guess what? If he ran, he would have won. So that's my lesson about this amazing man who I am so grateful to have met and now know, and to have had, a part of my life for the last decade. Okay, next person. This one, it may upset you guys by doing this, but here he is. Okay, so there is what was one of the most respected, adored, beloved comedians, actors, and icons of many of our lifetimes, Mr. Bill Cosby. And that is a picture of Bill and me on stage at the Get Motivated Business Seminar. Bill came on the tour with us. I'd been on tour with them for a couple of years, and then they brought him on just to kind of lighten it up and to bring some comedy. And actually he did some great talks about, kids and family and all of that. So here we are. Now, I had met Bill many years ago because when I was doing my series, Give Me a Break, he was doing The Cosby Show, all on NBC. We're all part of the big NBC family. And I used to see him at affiliate functions where they get the entire network together, all of the, stars of every show, and they do a big event, and it's, celebratory, and they film it and they air it. But I hadn't seen him for many years. So he came on the tour. We had an amazing conversation about Nell Carter. And of course, by this time, Nell had tragically passed away from a lot of complications from her past substance abuse and some other major health complications that she had. But we're backstage talking, laughing, all of that. This is us up on stage. And we had a little bit that we did. It started and then it kind of, built. When you're on the road and you're doing a show with somebody over and over, you get a flow for things. And at the end of the show, he would razz me and he would bring me up on stage and we would laugh and he would give me a hard time. Where's my blonde? Okay, you guys, he would say, where's my pretty blondie, or whatever he would say. And I would come up on stage and that's us laughing. You can see it's a warm, friendly, kind interaction with us. All right. So I could have not been more shocked when the news came out about Bill Cosby and what he was alleged to have been doing. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't believe it for a second because that's not the man I knew. I knew the man I'd been on tour with, the one who was funny. We had this little bit together. I didn't see any signs of it. Even though you see him holding my hand there, he never was inappropriate with me, except for maybe the whole blondie comment, and, saying, well, what were flattering comments about my physical appearance. But I didn't take it in a disrespectful way. It didn't feel disrespectful from him. But again, remember, you guys, I was the host of the show. I was a former, cast member on an NBC show. He knew my background and he knew my position at this company. And so there was no disrespect. So I didn't believe it for a long time. Obviously, as time went on and more came out, I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is true. So many of us from the tour were on the phone with each other. Can you believe this? We couldn't believe it. This was our Bill, right? And this was not that long before all of the allegations came out. So here's what I want to say. Not everything is as it seems. You can believe in someone 100%. You can think they are the most amazing, wonderful person that would never do anything hurtful, despicable, unlawful, and then the truth can come out and you can find out that that person is not what they present to the world. Because guess what? Money, fame, power does not make you a good person. As a matter of fact, many of you may have heard that there's a saying and it goes like this: Money only makes you more of what you are. So if you're a good, wonderful, giving person, money and power will only make you more of that, right? But if you are someone who has issues, and clearly Bill Cosby had issues, nobody can figure out why the heck would Bill Cosby do what he did to these women. I mean, he didn't need to do that, right? Well, why is that? Because he has damage on the inside. He's a wounded person. Nobody does that to other people that doesn't have really severe mental and emotional wounds underneath it. So the reason why I say that is the lesson that I have learned by watching this man that was a coworker of mine, a peer, I traveled with him for years on stage, hugged him all the time. I mean, it was devastating to me. And here's the devastating part. This is not the first time that somebody that I thought was one way, who was somebody that I could trust, somebody that I had total faith in, somebody that I respected, somebody that I admired, fell from grace. Look, you guys, this has happened to a lot of people recently. And it's overwhelming. It's heartbreaking. It's unsettling, because I think what it does is you say to yourself, how could my intuition have been so wrong? But let me tell you something. If you're going through this in your life, where you're experiencing this right now, because right now, this pandemic is bringing out people's true colors. It really is. I don't know what it is, but it is really bringing out people's true colors. And it's shocking, right? But if you have been through this in your life, you've got to just know that if somebody has fallen from grace in your life, if somebody has completely shocked you and done things and said things and hurt you or disrespected you or betrayed you, you have to look at yourself and say, okay, do I have a part in this? Did I hurt them? Did I cause this? Can I make an amends? Can I reach out? Can I work through it? I mean, in a personal relationship. And if you try, right, if it's a personal relationship, and you have to really be honest with yourself and say, do I have a part in this? And if you don't know, you need to reach out to the person and say, have I done something to hurt you? Because usually people react to something you may have done. And if you really search your heart and you're honest, right, then you can make an amends. But if you have not done anything to that person to deserve the treatment that you are getting, to deserve the despicable, disgusting, unfair behavior from someone who has betrayed you, what can you do? I mean, you can reach out and say how you feel to the person. That's always good for your emotional well-being, so that you say your piece, because guess what? You don't need to be a victim to anybody else's stuff. But again, even if that person doesn't respond to you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, you guys, because if you're in your heart, you talk to God and you get really honest, right? About, were you walking in the light path? Did you really cause this? Is there anything you could have done to create this? If the answer is no, and you know that, then you just have to let that person go, right? Because they've got to do their own thing. When people do this, when like Bill doing this, I mean, I think the women that got together afterwards, and when they collaborated with each other and they support each other, it was so healing. Why did they say it was so healing? Because they realized it was not my fault. Because a lot of them thought, this is my fault. But we realized, no, this was like a scam he had going. This was something he'd been doing for years, over and over and over. It was the same behavior, the same toxic, sick behavior that for whatever reason he couldn't stop. Why is that? Is he a bad person? Well, a lot of people say yes. You know what I say? Really wounded, really unhealthy, really sick and damaged person who needed help. And who knows, maybe he's getting some help in jail. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, just know you stay in the light And no matter what people do to you, right? It's not what people do to you, or it's not the circumstances of your life that matter. It's what you do with what happens. How are you going to react to it? Are you going to go in the weeds with them? And are you going to attack back? Or are you just going to stay in truth? You be authentic. You do the right thing. You say the right thing, right? You know what's right and what's wrong. And just know that no matter what other people do or to you or in and around you, and I'm talking about, it can be a close family member, it could be a sister or a brother, it could be a mom or a dad, it could be the unfairness of what's happening right now with people and their health and, a hospital or this or that or the other thing. Or, I had malpractice with my mom. My mom literally passed away because the doctors did things that were unlawful. They killed my mother, right? So again, just those kinds of things. Just know, and I know I'm kind of going on with this, but I think a lot of people are seeing people's true colors. And just know, you just have to stay true to yourself, you guys. You stay honest. You get right with God, your higher self, your higher power, and you know what's right. You walk in that. You be honest. You be authentic. You take responsibility for your part if you have one, right? And then you just have to let them go. You have to let them either try to hopefully figure it out, because even though consequences may not hit now, they hit eventually. The truth definitely comes around, right? It's a scales of balance thing. And the reason I say that is because I know way too many people going through this right now. Way too many people. I have had this happen in my life numerous times. It's shocking. It's devastating. It breaks your heart, especially if you're a trusting, honest, loyal person. It's heartbreaking, right? Am I going to let that take me to a dark place, ruin my life, ruin my destiny as a person? No, because I didn't create it. It's not something I created. I've done my self-inventory on myself, what my part is or isn't, right? I've done my part. I'm clean, right? So if you do the same thing, then you can put your head down on the pillow and know you've done everything to kind of work the situation out, and you have to let those people go. And it's better if you don't have toxic, negative people in your life. So if your intuition tells you that somebody has these kind of personalities, that maybe you're starting to see cracks and there's, things that are showing you, trust your intuition. Sometimes you will get blindsided completely and it will shock you and you never saw it coming. I have been through it, you guys. I have been there. I get it. I know it. But don't lose your self-worth, your feelings of confidence, your love for yourself. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Okay? There's good and evil in the world. You be on the good side. You walk the high road. You take that path of light and inspiration. You be a good person, just like, do unto others, right? That's all you can do. And that's all that matters. And guess what? In the end, it's going to make a difference. It will make a difference in your entire life and the path of your life, and how you feel at the end of your end of your life. Because if you walk through it with integrity and love and honor and authenticity, and you don't hurt people, and you don't take advantage of other people, and you don't lie, you don't betray, you don't manipulate other people, then at the end of your life, no matter what you've achieved or not achieved or gotten your entire bucket list done or not, it doesn't matter, because you've lived a life of purpose. You're a champion, and you've done, God's work on this planet. You've been one of those messengers that has spread light and love through your entire life. Okay? And I encourage you to go out there and lead. Have a great day. Be kind to each other and have a wonderful evening. And I will see you next week. And don't forget, you have purpose. You're worth it. You're valuable. You can change the world with your heart, with your talent, with your spirit. And don't let anyone ever take that away from you. Okay? I believe in you guys. Love you all. Have a great night.